Those major new developments in that attack on Sony and a threat to American moviegoers. The U.S. now expected to say North Korea is behind it all.
That's right. That naming and blaming could come later today as Sony pulls the interview from theaters once the hackers threatened to kill moviegoers. Theater chains refused to show it. Support for the film collapsed. ABC's Cecilia Vega has the latest from Los Angeles. Good morning, Cecilia.
George, good morning to you. This was a comedy, another Seth Rogen-James Franco duo, but it became an international scandal, and now it seems the interview may never be shown anywhere, and killing it could cost Sony even more than it costs to make. This morning, the hackers who launched a full-scale cyber war on one of the most powerful movie studios in Hollywood can claim victory. Sony pulling the plug on the interview, saying it will not show the controversial comedy about an assassination attempt on North Korea's leader, not in theaters, not even online or DVD. The studio saying in a statement, it was the victim of an unprecedented criminal assault, and we are deeply saddened at this brazen effort to suppress the distribution of a movie. We stand by our filmmakers and their right to free expression and are extremely disappointed by this outcome. Federal officials now pointing the finger directly at North Korea. Hackers cracking Sony's computer systems, taunting Hollywood's elite with leaked emails, and threatening to attack movie theaters that showed the film, invoking 9/11 and warning if your house is nearby, you'd better leave.
Sony and theater owners would have understandably felt horrible and have potentially found themselves legally liable if any kind of attack were to take place.
The threat prompting thousands of theaters from coast to coast, including the biggest chains in the country, to refuse to show the comedy. This morning, while some say Sony had no choice, many in Hollywood are lashing out at the decision, taking to late-night talk shows.
Those theater owners should be ashamed of themselves.
And to the internet. Rob Lowe tweeting, "Wow, everyone caved. The hackers won, an utter and complete victory for them. Wow." And Donald Trump posting this on Instagram.
Sony has absolutely no courage or guts.
I understand the need to be safe, to make sure filmgoers are safe, but you can't buckle in just because somebody makes some threats.
The decision will cost Sony millions. Not only is the $44 million movie scrapped, Sony reportedly loses marketing costs and penalty payments. Some estimate the price tag could top $100 million. And this morning, some say America has lost its first cyber war. Sony has erased even any mention of the interview from its website, totally scrubbed it clean. This movie giant that has made so many blockbusters, George, is now the poster child for cyber terrorism.
Boy, they sure are, Cecilia. And as we said, the U.S. government expected to officially blame North Korea for the attack as early as today. I want to bring in Pierre Thomas for more on that. And Pierre, the Fed's been working hard on finding out who's responsible, but also debating whether it's a good idea to call out North Korea in public.
Good morning, George. This attack was so unprecedented and devastating. It was a huge priority to find out who did it and quickly. And the U.S. government wants to send a message that it has the capacity to dig into this murky world of hacking and precisely assign blame. One administration official told me last night that North Korean officials directed an individual or group outside of the country to hack Sony. So the U.S. government wants to show that even if there's smoke and mirrors, it can figure out what happened. The group in North Korea suspected of directing the attack is a military unit called Bureau 121, George.
But that begs the next question, okay? The U.S. calls out North Korea, says North Korea is behind it, but then has to face the question, what do we do about it?
Well, some officials consider this an act of war. Sanctions might be discussed, but North Korea is a nuclear power, so I'm not expecting language too bellicose. The U.S. will also want to prosecute the North Korean officials responsible and those who helped them, but actually getting to those people and arresting them, well, that's going to be really difficult, George.
Yeah, very, very hard. Okay, let's talk to Dan Abrams for more on this as well. This is so unprecedented in so many ways. You got a movie taking on a dictator. The dictator and his regime appear to have responded. The movie collapses. Support for it goes away. We've never seen this kind of chain of events before.
Wow, right? I mean, think about what we're just seeing here. This is state-sponsored terrorism on a comedy about a world leader. And it now appears that that nation is behind it. I mean, we talk about sort of what precedent. Well, this is completely unprecedented. We've never seen anything like this, both in terms of what happened and the response. Now, when you get into the investigation itself, I'm going to be very curious about two things. Number one, was there someone on the inside who helped? There are questions about whether they had access to the Sony.
They knew so much.
That's right. And number two, did the North Koreans, if it was them, use commercially available tools to do this, or was it something even more advanced? Because that's going to be the question you have to ask in terms of, can you protect this from happening in the future?
There's also concern of Sony setting a bad precedent by pulling back, but did they have any choice once a threat was made against moviegoers?
Look, they had choices with regard to what level of reaction, right? They basically said, we're not just not opening this movie, we're basically scrubbing it. Could they have done something less? Absolutely. Is this going to be seen by some as caving to the North Koreans? Yes. Did they have a lot of good choices? Absolutely not. This is an almost impossible situation for them. And, now it's going to be interesting on the legal front with regard, we already have one lawsuit out there against Sony, people saying you didn't protect our information. Well, now the fact that it was North Korea involved is going to change how any lawsuit is perceived. Same legal standard will be, was there negligence? Should they have been able to better protect the information? But it does change the tone of that case.
Boy, it sure does. Boy, this is just a mind-boggling case.
Unbelievable.
Okay, thanks very much.
And the word you said, wow.
Yeah.
That's the word a lot of people are using this morning.